This here is a true representation of who I was, not how the courtroom portrayed me. So I would like to make my own impact statement. So, hello everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. It means a lot. I wish I could be with you all today.
So I saw that Sharon put her glasses on for that one. That was sort of Christopher Pelkey. Rather, it was an AI version of Christopher Pelkey. The real Pelkey was tragically killed in a road rage incident in November of 2021. But on Thursday, he spoke to a courtroom at his killer's sentencing in what might be a first of its kind use of this technology. So before we discuss whether this is like creepy or brilliant or just straight up unethical, here is what happened. According to NBC News, Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Todd Lang on Thursday gave a maximum sentence of 10.5 years behind bars to Gabriel Paul Horcasitas, who for the fatal shooting of Christopher Pelkey, 37, on November 13th, 2021, prosecutors said. Horcasitas had been convicted of manslaughter and endangerment earlier this year, but before handing down a sentence, Judge Lang allowed Pelkey's loved ones to play an AI-generated version of the victim so that he could make his own victim impact statement. The idea to do this came from his own family members, 2 of whom work in the AI field. So Stacey Wales is Pelkey's sister, and she said after 2 years of trying to craft a victim impact statement, she had the epiphany that the only voice that really mattered was her late brother's. She said, every time I'd get in the shower or the car and my thoughts were quiet, I wrote down what I was feeling: frustrated, crying or emotions, yelling, anger, love, anything that I could think of. What I had to say did not seem like it would do justice to the last person listening to make a decision on Chris's life. So she brought this idea to bring her deceased brother back to life up to her husband, who understandably was very hesitant. Wales told NBC that he recoiled and he said, "Stacey, do you know what you're asking me to do? This is my best friend." And I said, "I know, it's my brother." And then he said, if this isn't perfect, if this doesn't go out and really embody the spirit of Chris, I'm not going to let this be shown. And they went forward with it. And in this presentation, AI Welke actually seemed to push for leniency for his killer.
To Gabriel Horcasitas, the man who shot me. It is a shame we encountered each other that day in those circumstances. In another life, we probably could have been friends. I believe in forgiveness and in God who forgives. I always have, and I still do. To my family and everyone that I've met along the way, it was a lot of fun. I always had a lot of fun. Love each other because you never know how long you have. But make the most of each day and live your life. Thank you to everyone for being here. It means more than you know. Well, I'm gonna go fishing now. Love you all. See you on the other side.
Okay, so nonetheless, Lang delivered the maximum sentence of 10.5 years. And the AI presentation may even backfire in a big way. The defense team is claiming that it created a strong issue for appeal. Defense lawyer Jason Lamb says, while judges certainly have latitude as to what to hear, particularly from victims, an appellate court will have to decide if this was an error, if it was just simply too far over the line in terms of being inflammatory, and to what degree the judge relied on it in imposing a sentence on my client. Law professor Gary Marchant, who specializes in ethics and emerging technologies, is also worried about the precedent that this sets. He said the family did a really good job of representing what he would have said, and they would have the best sense of what he would have said. But on the other hand, it's completely fake, right? It's not true. So this is an extra jump that I feel is going to get us into dangerous grounds. It's definitely unprecedented, that's for sure, but we live in unprecedented times. And I feel like this is just part of what we need to get used to seeing in this new world where there's AI everywhere you look. It's hard to escape it, right? I look at a lot of interior design stuff on Instagram and Pinterest, whatever, and a lot of it is not real, and it's like sometimes it takes you a while to understand that. But here we have a situation where, the ethics of it have not been fleshed out, right? And whenever you have technology that is rolled out so quickly, it's like the technology moves faster than the legality works, faster than the ethics work, faster than all the studies as to like what this is doing to us, like psychologically or ethically or sociologically, right? So the technology is moving faster than anyone can keep up with it. And so this is definitely going to be maybe like one of those landmark cases where something gets decided here. Sharon, let's start with you. How did you feel watching
That
that?
was, gosh, it was creepy and fascinating. And I found my mind wandering. My mother just passed away not that long ago. And I was thinking, well, I wonder if we could, have a conversation one last time.
But it wasn't his words, right? Because somebody
No,
had to write them for him.
right. Victims, though, I think have a right to show up in that courtroom, but at what cost? When DNA was first introduced in a courtroom, they had to be sure that jurors in the initial case would get it. They had to really spell out, this is, 1 in a billion, this and that, for people to get it. It's only as good as the algorithm or the family is going in. And I just don't know. Humans build technology. Humans are flawed. It just depends. Everything we have in us, the bias, all of it would come through the technology. And I don't know that this is fair if you're going to have a dead man talking and giving an emotional goodbye like that in a courtroom right before a judge rules on your fate. I'm torn. I'm fascinated though by it. I find this to be a fascinating story.
Mhm.
Watching that video, I don't know this guy. All I know is that he died from a road rage incident, and I felt myself being moved emotionally by it. And I have no connection to this person, to this case. Like, that's kind of crazy. And so that's why I think it's kind of Bush League, man, if this guy was put in like some type of state where he could no longer speak, but he could still write or something like that, and he wasn't able to communicate in the way that he used to before the accident, and he put some words to paper, I'd be all for this, honestly. But the fact that it's his family just coming up with stuff, just literally just making it up and using AI to do it, and I could just imagine this going in so many other directions, just like making up stories and scenarios that never existed, and like all to paint this as something that like, favors the prosecution in this sense. I think this is highly problematic. Like this idea that we're inventing words for somebody who doesn't exist, especially to prosecute somebody by the law. Like I think it's crazy to me because I feel like our criminal justice system seems to be punitive enough, man. Like I don't think we need help with the punitive nature of the system. I think we'll find a way to punish the people that we pursue punishments for a lot. So I don't even see the need for this in a system that we already have.
Yeah, and the on one hand, I feel like, presenting AI as a person to, maybe elicit sympathy isn't necessarily anything new that from what we usually see in courtrooms anyway. Because a lot of times, if someone is deceased, they'll show pictures of them from when they were alive, and you're like, oh, here he was at the park, and here he is with his children, and here he is with his dog. Things that paint them in a good light and would maybe make a jury more sympathetic and say, you know what, I feel something for this person. I'm sad that he's dead, and I think the person who did this to him needs to be punished. On the other hand, like if that was me, I wouldn't want something like that to happen to me. I wouldn't want anyone to write words for me and then present it as if I'm saying it after I'm no longer here. Maybe that's a reality though that I have to be prepared for because we're living in a time when things like that are happening already.
But is it really that? I wonder. Okay, we keep using the word fake, and I get it because you didn't have that person who's no longer with us stringing those words together. But if a judge says, hey, you can use these 5 texts, this old letter, this birthday card, and feed it into the computer or whatever, and let's see what it spits out. You're not going to use this or that because that's prejudicial. We have no idea how he felt about that. Maybe. And I agree with both of you. It's just such a tricky thing. But hey, if you're going to invent this stuff, if we're going to be living with AI, I don't know that it's going away in this one case, maybe, but maybe it'll get reversed. I just don't know enough about what went into baking this thing, because you're right. If he were a vegetable, so to speak, or severely impaired and in a wheelchair and, a shell of himself, and he was allowed to come into that courtroom, would have the same effect. I just don't know. It's a crazy one.
Yeah, but you said it too, right? The problem is that you don't know enough. None of us know enough about any of this and what the implications are. None of us have thought about the legality of it. But a lot of times that's how our legal system works. If somebody does something, then we're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And now let's think about it. And now let's go forward and see if this is going to be a thing that we need to get used to. Because I think you're absolutely, there's no way this is going away, right? There's no way you don't put the genie back in the lamp, right? It just doesn't happen. This is the future that whoever, these billionaire tech weirdos, decided that we all exist in now, right? Whether or not we like it, we all said, you know what, maybe let's pump the brakes on all this stuff because we don't understand it enough. We don't understand what it's going to do to us societally or psychologically. And they said, no, here it is now. And so now we all have to scramble and try to make sense of it. And this is a part of that process, it would appear. So Waz, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I'm not an AI doomsdayer like many people are. I tend to think the tech companies are kind of overhyping what this AI stuff is gonna do because it helps with their stock price, and investors really love the idea that AI is gonna revolutionize the world. However, I do think there are going to be some pretty bad unintended consequences of diving in head first into this AI directed future. And I think it's something that we should all be mindful of and not ignore, right? I think we should familiarize ourselves with what AI is and how it's going,
Can I just tell you, I would have loved to have, as creepy as it sounds, in my mother's final years, she missed my stepfather terribly. And she was declining and had some cognitive issues at the end because of the disease she had. But I just wanted to keep her comfortable. If I could have had my stepfather in that form and able to be with her a little bit, as crazy as that sounds, there's some good that could come out of this. I don't know about the courtroom, but imagine what that could do to people who are grief stricken or inconsolable or I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
That's a future that we're all going to have to reconcile with, whether we want to or not. And I don't consider myself an AI doomsdayer, but personally, it makes me uncomfortable. I hate it. But that's that's my very, very personal feeling about
slippery
these things.
Slope. Yeah.
I also just don't like technology in general. I understand that I have all this tech around me and that I work on the internet. I get that. I get the irony of it. But if I can go back to like candlelight in the evenings, I would. I feel like I'm that person.
I think I'd be willing to go back as far as dial-up internet.
Dial-up
internet.
So
Give me that dial-up.
Perfect, right?
What a pet computer.
Give me a Tamagotchi. Give me my Discman or my Walkman, and I'm good. That's all.
I did like that, but the batteries would always go down.
Yeah,
I'm always trying to unplug, though. You know what I mean? And so, I want less technology in my life and in my house and in my head. But I get that. This is a thing that's happening, and I'm not trying to bash it, but I just don't like the way it's being rolled out and the way that it's happening faster than our laws and the people can really keep up with it. So that's my only the thing that I feel like there is some kind of control over that we're not doing a good job at. So
every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.